etch, animate, all right. I feel a little seasick. Etch Animate is an animation program. You've all tried what's called After Effects, and actually this is a little bit similar, but the output of this program, it's HTML, it's CSS, and it's JavaScript. So everything that comes out of this program is directly implementable in a web page. And that's why this is the new standard, I mean HTML animations in web banners and things like that. And Edge Animate is one of the programs that has this output. Apple has an equal program, it's called Hype. Also a very nice and very easy program to use. And actually, this Adobe program is the only one where I actually find these tutorial videos useful. So these small tutorials which comes together with the program are actually quite good. So see them, use them. I'm going to start to create a new document. And Edge Animate is sort of what you see is what you get. There's not a lot of hidden windows, hidden screens, panels and things like that. Everything we've got, you can see. So it's quite neat and nice, this program actually. We have a property panel over on our left-hand side. We have a timeline in the bottom, and we have some panels on our right side, elements panel and library panel, and that's it. No hidden panels anywhere. Actually, there's one for actions, but we will look to that later. But that is what you get. We have our screen here, and everything we do over here is actually CSS and JavaScript. This is a CSS panel saying we have our stage, width, height, minimum width, max width, so I can work with the responsive design. It's built to make a responsive scaling if that is what I want. So actually in this program I can make both small banners, as we're going to make. I can make slideshows. I can even make, for instance, a one-pager. Many of you in Module 7 made one-page designs. Here I can make my one-page design with animations, and by implementing a small framework, I actually can make it parallax with things coming in and out. All my animations. I'm going to show that to you in tomorrow. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is set the screen size, and to show you what I'm actually going to do, I'll just show you here. On. We're going to make two small banners. This one, I'm going to start with. Extremely simple, but to get you going and to show you how this program works. And then we're going to look at some other stuff, how to come from a Photoshop file, how we can export our graphics and import them into Edge Animate and make an animation. Two quite simple banners, but they'll cover lots of the stuff we're going to use, I'm going to do, and you can do in Edge Animate. So I'm going to make a stage size, and before I do anything else, I want to save this. And there's a very clever thing here. When I save a new project, it automatically gives me the opportunity to save in a folder. So I don't have to make a new folder for my project. Edge Animate makes this folder for me. And what do I actually get? I get this folder, and inside the folder is an HTML file, an AN file is my working file, animate, and then I get some JavaScript files and an Edge includes files in the include folder, and if I import some graphics, I'll get a folder for graphics as well. So Edge Animate makes everything for me. Up in the top, I have a panel with my tools, not very many tools, because what I'm working with is simple HTML. So, for instance, I choose a rectangle, and as you can see, there are some pretty clever guides. Which makes it possible for me to draw objects. And if I look over at my properties panel, it gives me the width, the height, the X and the Y position, transform, corners, shadows, filters, all CSS properties. So I can work with my CSS properties in the panel. I can, for instance, choose background color. I want a nice red. I want a background color for my stage. No, I think I'll keep it white because this is so dark. So it'll be difficult to see the black. So I keep it white. And when I draw an object, I can look in my elements panel, and you can see, hopefully, you can see just to the right of my name, there's a small div tag. So just to tell me this is actually an HTML div with some CSS properties. Down here I have my timeline, and every time I do something new, I get a new row in my timeline. So I have the timeline here, I have my rows down here. First of all, I have my stage. Now I have a rectangle. I will rename the rectangle. I rename it cover. And as you can see, when I rename it down here, the name changes here, and the name changes here in my properties panel. So all these three parts is showing exactly the same thing. These three parts. Just my properties, my timeline, and my elements panel. Next thing I want to do is to write some text. So I choose my text tool. write some text. And now I got text box, and again my text is placed inside a div tag. So it's pure HTML. In order to control my text, style my text, I go to the properties panel. Here I can choose normal HTML font families, but actually HAnimate gives me the opportunity to use Adobe Typekit fonts, web fonts. So I could choose one of those. For instance, this cabin sketch. And choosing it, I say add fonts, and now cabin sketch is added to my font library. And if I double click this cabin sketch, I see that I get an embed code with a script tag making a link to Edge fonts where cabin sketch is collected. I can, of course, choose size. I place it, and I can choose different alignment. I also can control things like the spacing, the letter spacing, the line height, and so on. So every CSS property I'm able to control and animate from this panel. All right, let's start to do some animation. Now I've got my elements, and quite often I start by placing the elements where I actually want them to end. So here I have my red cover box, I have my text, and I'm going to animate the text in and then out. Down on my timeline I have small buttons, and maybe you reckon some of the buttons from After Effects. I have a small auto keyframe button, I have a transition button, because this is CSS and JavaScript. When I'm talking animation, I'm talking transitions. So with these two added, I can start animation, and I've got a single very clever button, a toggle pin. This tool I have missed for so many years working with Flash, for instance, because this tool is really great. What this tool does is that it pins what I'm actually seeing. So when I connect this pin, I can say, okay, this is actually the end image. So I take my pin and say, I want this to be happening. I'm pinning this image 1.5 seconds in the future. So I'm moving my pin, putting it 1.5 seconds out of the timeline, and then I can, what I'm seeing, it's my cursor. And down here, my timeline cursor, it shows me the actual image. So now I can shift, drag my text in order to do it in a straight line. And what I see now, I changed the starting point and the ending point. So it's really easy. And what we get small keyframes, and the keyframes are showing the properties. What property have I been animating? Well, I've been animating my left property. So the timeline panel here shows me what properties are being animated and shows me where the keyframes are. And this is really a dull animation. But fortunately, we've got a very nice thing in Edge. When you earlier have been working, sitting and writing a lot of CSS to make keyframe animations, and then maybe implementing an easing panel or some easing, well, it's been quite a hassle. But here we've got an easing panel, and some of you, I think, was it your team that where when I was at Module 8 talking about animation and easing and things like, or was it the other? I can't remember. But easing, animation is all about easing. Easing is accelerating, decelerating. Because if I have this movement and everything is just automatic, the same speed all the way through, I get a very dull animation. So what I'm talking about is accelerating, deceleration. That's what makes animation interesting to watch. That we've got these easing properties, because when we're going to animate, what we actually have to do is to watch our surroundings. See how does things react. A balloon is very soft easing. A cardboard is very heavy. So how are we going to make this illusion out of 2D objects, just drawn graphics? I mean, we have to make an illusion about some tempo, about some gravity, about some physical stuff. And Edge Animate has a very nice easing panel. Down here I can choose my transition, and the fourth button here in my timeline is my easing panel. Here I have ease in. Ease in is accelerating. I have a slow start, and the closer I get to my end, the more steep the curve, so the faster my object moves. I have ease in, ease out, ease in, out, and I think I'm going to use an ease out. And talking about ease out, I have a lot of different options, curves to choose by, and one of them is elastic. Elastic makes a very fast action in, and then it sort of slows up. So by choosing, I had this very dull animation. By choosing an easing model, I actually now can add some interesting movement to my animation. So a lot of the secrets about animation, and that goes for After Effects as well, it's about easing. To control the speed, I can just change the amount of time I'm using for the animation. Or maybe that was a little bit too slow. Yeah, I like that better. So now I've made my animation, the first part of my animation. Actually, I want the text to come behind my red cover box. And one of the strange things is that with this program is that I'm not allowed to move the way the layers are in my timeline. In order to do that, I have to go to my Elements panel, and here I can choose to move my cover up over my text, and now the text comes from behind the red panel, the red cover. So that was the starting of my animation. Well, I think it should rest for about a second or so, and then I want to make it drop down. So I move my cursor to a new position, put on my toggle pin, and this time this is not the ending point, this is the starting point. So I'm pinning the starting point and moving my playhead to a new position to change the ending point. And a little thing about HAnimate, when I have chosen an easing model for a transition, next time I make a transition, it'll automatically get the easing model I chose. So that's why we hardly can see anything moving. So I have to go over here, and this time I'm going to choose ease in because I want this slippery effect. You all know these gel that you can throw on the wall and force down. That's the effect I want. So yeah, I think I can always change it later. So let's see what we have now. My text is coming in, and then maybe it should start a little before, and I can just grab my transition and move my transition to where I want the animation to happen. I prolong it a little bit, and I think I make it a little more slippy, slow in the start, and with a faster accelerating curve. Yeah, something like that. So now I've made my animation. The text comes in, stays put for a little while, and then comes out. And if I see my animation, I'm just going to save it and test it. It's out. So one thing about HAnimate, when you're animating, the animation is only a one shot. Many other animation programs, they keep looping and looping and looping. You have to explicitly ask them to stop. This program stops automatically after one step. Then I could ask you, how could I make it? I want a very common thing for banners like this is that they loop 3 times. So how can we solve this?
Yeah. You could write in a loop in the in the CSS afterwards.
Yeah. Great, because one thing I'm often seeing is that people, and that happens in Flash and lots of different programs, they take the animation and then copy it 3 times or how many times they want it to loop. Well, that's not a very good solution, because then if I'm going to change a little bit in the timing, I have to do it 3 times. But using some script, I can actually make this banner loop. And HAnimate has a very nice set of preset scripts. And if you look down here in my timeline, I have a special row called Actions. And what I can do, there's a small button here saying insert trigger. My playhead is at the end. I press the insert trigger button, and this is the one hidden panel I was talking about, my action panel. It pops up, and here I can choose, I can write my own JavaScript. I'm going to do that in a short while, but I can also just choose from the presets. So first of all, it says pick an action. Okay, I'll pick an action. Play from, and afterwards pick a target. So first I pick an action, and what do I want this action to control? Well, I want it to control the stage. So now I've got this little code. It looks very similar to some JavaScript and jQuery you've seen before. Sim is the built-in in Edge Animate sort of controller or pointer to my system. Actually, it stands for symbol. But so this is sort of not common, but all the other things we're writing is common JavaScript. So here I want it to play from 0. I want it to play from the beginning. So instead of the 1000 milliseconds, I say 0. Close my panel, test it. Come on. So now it loops nicely. And it will do that endlessly. So right now, what I have to do, I have to add my own script. I have to add a little script. And I have put on Fonder, I put in a PDF with this script, so you can get it there. In Edge Animate, I have to inject my script before the animation starts. I sort of have to start or write some of the script before the animation starts, but after everything is collected, because it's JavaScript which collects everything and gets everything ready. We just saw I could put triggers on my stage, but I can also put triggers on my elements. Just to the left there are some curly brackets, so I choose stage and press a button, press these two curly brackets, and then I get a list of actions I can choose from. And the one I'm choosing is composition ready. Composition ready fires when everything is collected and the animation is ready to blow off. So this is a good place to start. I'm going to make a global variable. So, come on. Here we are. As I was saying, I'm going to make a global variable. And to set a global variable in Edge Animate, I have to use this syntax. So I set a variable And this takes two parameters, the name of the variable, I'll call it count, and a value. And the count is a name, so it is in quotation marks. The number is just a number, so it just goes there. It's not text. So now I have set my variable count to 0. All right. And actually, I want the animation, when I have looped 3 times, I want the animation to stop when the text is in the center. So I place my playhead here when the animation stops and puts in the trigger. And here I use normal action JavaScript. I use my var, and when I use a Danish name. And the first thing I'm going to do is to get my variable. I want to take hold of the global variable so that I can add a new value to it so that it counts every time I'm looping. So instead of set variable, I have a syntax saying get variable. And what do I want to get? I want to get my variable count. So I'm taking my global variable, placing it in a local variable here, just on this trigger at 2500 milliseconds. And then I'm adding 1. And you all know this syntax, that I can add 1 to a variable by choosing the double plus sign. And after I've added 1, I could reset my global variable. So I say it sim set variable, and I'm resetting count with my new value. Like that. So what happens now is that I take hold of my count variable, add 1, and reset count with a new value. So what's left? We have to make a small if statement in order to see how many rounds have happened. So what should I write? I'm going to make an if statement about this. Any suggestions? Well, I'll write if. But what should I actually ask it? Yeah?
If count er lig med 3. Ikke så?
Yes. Or actually, yeah, I could use count, or I could use omgang.
Ja. Ja.
So and then I don't have any snippets for this, but down here, if I was in doubt, I could choose playback, stop, stage. So what I'm saying now, that if omgang equals 3, my system should stop. Jo, men jeg har også, der ligger en pdf ude på nettet, ude på fronter, hvor jeg har skrevet de her ting ned. Så let's see what happens. Tredje gang, så tager jeg dig og putter dig i gryden. So now it stops. And that's it. So I was lucky. The shit worked. And so what I want you to do now is to actually repeat this. Try to make this little exercise in Edge Animate. You can see the animation out on Mabe, Kia.dk. Here put out the two banners. So here you can see it. On the fronter I put a PDF with the JavaScript code. So it should be quite easy for you to do this. So I'll give you half an hour.